Happy New Year! Happy New Year and welcome to Rebel Queen Spotlight. I am your host, Nikki Inman, the one, the only Nikki Inman. Okay. All right. I am really excited to be here. It's a new year. There's lots of new things that I have coming with the Rebel Queen Spotlight. We're going to be injecting some curveballs to keep things interesting and always, from an educational standpoint. But so our first guest this week, so excited about her, is Yoshimi Shelton. And I'm not going to get into too much about what she does and why she's here. I'm definitely going to do that when I bring her in. And shout out to all my Rebel Queens out there. Woo woo, 2021. Let's do this. Let us do this. Okay. So I'm Nikki Inman, as I said, creator of the birthing code. That's that sign that you see behind me. If you wish to connect with me, you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, now on Clubhouse, and all at The Birthing Code. Okay, so that's how you find me, at The Birthing Code. I am so honored to share this space and to be invited into your lives, to be able to share with you in this form. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the mother of 8 and I am the wife of 1 because I can only manage 1. And I hail originally from the UK, but my heritage is that of Jamaica and via West Africa, Ghana, West Africa. So what else do I want to share with you? For those of you who are just bumping into me or happening on me for the first time, I am a chef by trade. I am a plant-based chef, also another one of my passions. I love cooking, I love creating, and I love all things just holistic and healthy living and healthy eating and just understanding us as individuals as in a whole sense, not compartmentalized, not separating things, but understanding that everything works together as a whole. If we are not in a good mental condition, if we're not in a good physical condition, that all of these things touch and all of these things affect us. If we're not in a good place emotionally, spiritually, we're not compartmentalized. We are a whole being. And so when we look at things in our lives, we have to look at it as a whole. So with that being said, my passion is the birthing code. So my major passion is the birthing code. So I help Black and brown women to overcome their fear of birthing and to heal from their traumas or any limiting beliefs that may be preventing them from A, becoming pregnant, or B, manifesting that type of birthing experience that's their birthright and that they're entitled to, and that is their right. Because we all have the right to birth in a way that makes sense to us, that is life affirming for us. And so that's what I do. That is my superpower. That is my claim to fame. And that is what I love to do. I love doing that, especially in the climate where Black and brown women are 3, I used to say 3 to 5, but I keep forgetting New York. Because New York is like, it's like 12 times. It's 12 times in New York. So where Black and brown women are 3 to 12 times more likely to die in childbirth from pregnancy complicated situations, postpartum, died, within the first year of postpartum, and not just, dying, but also experiencing a higher than normal averages of maternal morbidity. So that just morbidity can just, show up in ways of like having birthing trauma? How many, and I'm sure there's many women you've bumped into and they've definitely had some form of trauma as it pertained to their birthing experiences. And those things can show up and prevent you, if you want to have more children later, they can prevent you from manifesting and from walking in your power. And so that is what I do. That is what I am passionate about. That is what I am doing to make a difference. So without further ado, and without me talk, as I will just talk and talk and talk and talk, but I want to bring in my guest, Yoshimi, and allow her to introduce herself and tell us all about what it is that she does. And yeah, and also for a way that you can all connect with her. Yoshimi! Hi, beautiful. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me well?
I can.
Okay, good.
I can. And we have two people watching us already. I don't know who's watching us. If you are if you're able to come on with us live now, please let us know where you're watching from. And if you're catching us on the replay, go ahead, #replay, so we know. And if you have any questions for me, any questions for Yoshimi, definitely, whether you're catching it live or on the replay, go ahead and put your questions in the comments and we will get back to you. Oh, I love your background. It's so pretty.
Thank you. I'm finally making my place a home, but yeah, into my like full out altar sacred space for me. So
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
I did let everybody know that your name was Yoshimi Shelton. And Yoshimi, tell us what your name means. I think your name's so pretty. I mean, even to say it, it just sort of comes off my tongue, Yoshimi. Like I can't. Like, you say it and it sounds pretty, Yoshimi. It makes me put my voice back, Yoshimi.
Well, I'm actually named after my grandmother. My mother is from the Marshall Islands, and so she was actually adoption over there is very different. Mm-hmm. And so her adoptive mother, who's actually a parent's cousin, is half Japanese, and so I was named after her. Uh-huh. And yeah, and what I was told is that it means wise and beautiful, but translation, it's a really, really old name, like an old Japanese name. It's like our equivalent to like Odessa or Bertha or something.
Oh, Gertrude.
Yeah, Gertrude. Yeah.
I got you. Okay, it's still pretty though.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, maybe somewhere, in some of the culture, they think that Gertrude is very,
I like it. But
yeah. Awesome. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good.
Good. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
Yes. Well, you're looking really good. You're glowing.
Thanks. It's the pregnancy glow.
I love it. And baby's doing good?
Baby's doing really well.
Good. Is he still kicking your butt?
Oh, man. He really is. I'm like, sir, can you calm down?
Excuse me, sir. Sir, excuse me. Well, it's a foretelling of what's to come, Yoshimi. It's a foretelling of what's to come. Yes, and all the powerful things that he's going to be doing on this planet. So, definitely. Yeah. So great. So, where to jump in? Like, I'm so excited to have you here.
Me too.
I'm so excited to have you on. So, tell us a little bit about you. I know you told us about, the meaning of your name, but tell us a little bit about you and your background and let's get to know you. Let me turn on my light.
My name is Yoshimi. I am a Michigan resident, Metro Detroit area. I have 2 children, a boy and a girl, and I have a little guy on the way. Yay. So my background is in dance, and I'm also just all around performance art, singing, dancing, drawing, painting, a bunch of different things, but also a chiropractic assistant during the day.
Oh, very cool. See, I didn't know that. So we didn't cover that in our pre-interview, but that's very cool.
Yeah. So
that's a whole nother conversation, how chiropractic, the benefits of chiropractic.
Especially during pregnancy.
During pregnancy, yes.
I got adjusted today at work and I was just like, I feel like a whole new woman.
Okay.
It was just,
Seriously.
yeah. And I try to tell like any, pretty much my whole timeline, a bunch of the women are pregnant now. So I'm like, go get
And it just,
adjusted,
yeah.
come into the chiropractic office.
Yes.
You need this. Trust me, you do.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah, any kind of holistic healing. So I grew up in a big family of musicians. My father's a band director. Well, was a band director. Um, my brothers are in musicians, and so we've always had music around us and just the arts and um, growing up that way. And so that's had a lot to do with my life and the kind of way it's gone in the direction that has gone. I'm sorry, baby brain has really been affecting
Well,
me.
listen, let me tell you.
So if I like start to go off and I ask you,
Okay,
oh, that's why.
that's fine.
But
That's fine.
yeah, so grew up around the arts, and my mother always was very adamant about like making us fresh juices and stuff. And so we've always had like a little holistic belief system. And so it's kind of transferred into different ways of my everyday living.
Yeah, I can relate to that coming from having Caribbean roots that, they didn't necessarily reach for medication first. It was what herb and castor oil.
Uh
And
huh.
as a
Go
joke,
drink some ginger tea
Listen,
and
I was just gonna say there is a joke within the West Indian community. If you've grown up West Indian and they say, and parents say to you, say, oh, I have a headache, oh my stomach hurts, and they tell you, go drink some tea. Go drink some tea. That is,
yeah,
yeah.
ginger tea and fresh juice, carrot juice for the
Oh,
eyes. And
mhm.
oh yeah, she used to try to make us have carrot and beet juice all the time, and I was just like, no, please don't. But
Oh
yeah,
my goodness. That's so cool.
so
Okay.
that's kind of my background in a nutshell. It's a lot more extensive than that, but
Awesome.
my basic background.
Okay, very cool. So you said this is baby number 3 for you.
Baby number 3, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so before we get there, though, let me talk about something else. So how did you get into dance? And I know you said that your family is inundated in the arts, but what was it? Because you could have been a musician, you could have sung. What drew you to dance, or how did your dancing career start?
Um, so I've always been dancing since I was little. I was actually afraid to do my dance class, my first dance class. I was just so afraid to even do it. My sister had to join in the little girls class to be with me because I was just like, I don't want to do it. But I started off really little taking studio classes, but also at home, my mom would teach me how to do my hands and doing island movements and whatnot. And so I had it at home culturally, but then I also was doing studio dancing. And for a moment in time, it stopped where I was just singing because my dad started training me with jazz music. And so I started getting into like my singing really hardcore, especially high school. So with the NAACP, there was a program. I don't know if they still have it, but it was called AXO. Let me see if I can remember it. African American Cultural, Technological, Scientific Olympics.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so it was pretty much African American kids in high school that would compete in either singing, dancing, art, um, math, science, just a bunch of different categories. You would compete at the local level and then you go to national level. So I got to go to nationals twice with doing jazz singing. And I saw the dancers there and I was just like, oh, I, I miss dancing like a lot. And that was ninth, 10th, or yeah, ninth and 10th grade.
Mhm.
And so then after that, I really started pushing back into my dancing, joined the the Latin group in my um, high school because culturally I was raised with both cultures, Black American and Marshallese. And so I didn't really fit in anywhere, but I felt like the culture that I was taught at home was closely related with the Latin girls in my school. And so we all kind of like clicked together, and I joined their dance team. And then I started choreographing for them, and then started into a dance group where we were performing outside of our high school, and took it into like clubs and
Mm,
events and all these other things. And
wow.
so we had a fully running dance troupe in my senior year of high school.
Wow.
And
That's
so
awesome.
it was pretty amazing. And I also we have a dual program with our a couple of high schools now, but back then it was only one, our community college. So I did the community college half the time and half high school by the end of my high schooling career. And so I joined in the dance clubs and dance classes over at the community college, while also doing the Latin dance group and going back and forth. But then also popping into my dad's marching band. And I was a flag girl for him, and
No.
started, yeah, and would help out with that stuff sometimes. And so it was just like here, there, where I was just like, I want to know it all, because
Okay.
it just felt, for me, especially being a multiracial girl growing up with no one, or like no one with similar experiences around, dance was a way for me to express myself, not only just through different um, cultural dancing, but through just getting into my body. And
Okay.
so that's where the whole shift started taking place. I started going to like different meditation classes and kind of getting more into the hippie community, because Ann Arbor is we had, well, we did have a large hippie community, and then it started going more so into Ipsy because all the yuppies started coming to Ann Arbor. And so now it's just yippies over there, and the hippies are in Ann Arbor. Yippies are yuppie hippies.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
that's Ann Arbor's full of them. So
Oh,
so I started going back and forth between different like festivals and whatnot, and cacao ceremonies and all these different spiritual, holistic um, community events, just to um, just to, how do I explain this? To find a different way other than like dealing with my like emotional issues and whatnot.
mhm.
I didn't want to like go see a therapist, because back then it was like, you don't go see a therapist because you're strong minded. And it's like, I don't know if people realize that, especially with Black families, going to therapy is like, you're weak,
Right.
you don't do that. And
Right.
so we've been slowly changing the narrative
Mhm.
on that throughout time. But like not even 10 years ago, that was a huge thing, is like, you don't go to therapy. And even still now, it's a thing. So I wanted to create tools for myself
Mhm.
specifically to deal with like my depression, or it was just, I was a young girl with uh identity issues. So I also was like going through depression and all this stuff, but I didn't want to go to therapy, and I really didn't want to take any kind of drugs for it. So dance became that for me, music became that for me. And then getting into the different communities around here and learning, taking different things away, but adding it into my whole spectrum of healing, is how I got to where I am now.
Okay. Very cool. It's crazy how everything touches. That but you end up in the place that you need to be in,
Yeah.
it's a journey, and sometimes you're on parts of the journey and you're just like, why am I here, like what
Yep.
is happening, like this does not feel good. But then when you're able to capture the big picture and see, oh, okay, this was part of the journey and I needed to go through this in order to get to here.
Hmm.
Well, awesome. So, how many months pregnant are you?
I am 23 weeks, so 5.5.
5 and a half. Awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I said this is baby
coming up.
number 3. So tell me, like, share with us what your other. Okay, first, this particular birth. Where are you having baby? Are you having baby at home or in a birthing center or?
So I was planning on having baby at home, but recently I did find out that my placenta is low.
Okay.
And so I do live right down the street from the hospital. So I'm going to try to birth as much as I can at home, or not birth, labor as much.
Right.
I'm going to try to labor as much as I can at home, like I did with my son.
Okay.
My last pregnancy, I did most of my laboring at home and was only there for a couple of hours. So that's what I plan on doing this time as well, just because it is a little bit more high risk. My last pregnancy, I did have a miscarriage at 5 months. So I'm a little bit more
Yeah.
skeptical, but also at the same time, I have my eyes a little bit more wide open about the hospital experience in general, because some of the things that they got away with last time are not going to fly with me this time. So yeah.
So let's go ahead and open up into that since you brought that up. So yeah, let's talk. So I know, as you know, as a woman of color, because your dad is African American, right?
Yeah.
So as a woman of color, you're very well aware of the statistics. And it sounds as though you experienced some morbidity. So there is a difference that people don't necessarily understand between mortality and morbidity. The mortality is obviously demise and, you know, somebody passing, versus morbidity, which can be just trauma or mistreatment or just things that happen that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
In essence, okay, that can leave women in a very traumatic place and leave them in a place of, I don't know that I'm gonna have any more children, even if I want children.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would, well, the fact that you're mixed. So has that been different for you as far as how the medical industrial complex has interfaced with you? Because to look at you straight, I would think maybe you were Latina. Because when
I get everything. Can you hold on 1 second?
Yeah.
I don't know how this stink bug got in here, but oh my gosh.
What is it? Stink bug?
Stink bugs. Do you guys have stink bugs?
Yeah.
Oh, they're a Michigan thing.
Oh no. Okay. Who do we have in the room? While Yoshimi is currently in bug slayer mode? Who's in the room with us today? Who's on live with us?
Okay, he's out the door.
Okay, you got him. I was like, oh, you were in yeah, you were in bug slaying mode. But no, she didn't slay the bug.
No, I didn't slay the bug. I just didn't want him in here.
Yeah, so my question, so I said to you, to look at you and, without being, I'm not doing the colorism thing. I'm just saying to look at you. Typically, to look at you, I wouldn't say, oh, that's a Black woman. But I would definitely say she's may have Black in her. But so how has that been for you? Because you've had 2 other pregnancies. How has that been for you interfacing with the medical piece?
Well, first off, just as a whole, I feel like hospitals don't treat pregnant women how they should whatsoever, no matter what color you are. But then also alongside that, I was not heard whatsoever with anything that, if it was just me advocating for myself, I wasn't listened to. So my ex-husband is white Irish. And so I told him, anywhere they take the baby or whatever, you need to be right there. And it wasn't until like, so I asked about the placenta because I was going to have them made into pills. And so I had him go and find out. And I told them this beforehand that I didn't want anything happening to the placenta because I was going to take it. I called someone to come and to the hospital to pick it up to be able to encapsulate it. They didn't listen, already put the chemical on it. And it was just like anything that I wanted to say was not being heard.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was just
Yeah.
an experience. And
I
then
mean, yeah.
alongside when I was going through my miscarriage, I did talk to you about this before, but I do want people to hear this story as well. Um, so I had to go get an MRI done on my belly, and there was a Caucasian man, Caucasian woman that were doing the whatever they do. And I was like, I can't drink this liquid and go in there because I'm going to throw up. And they're like, oh, you're fine. You're fine. They just kept dismissing me. You're fine. You're fine. And I was like, I really can't do it. So they're like, you'll be okay. So I drank it. And that's like, while I'm laying down, I'm like, I really can't sit still. They're like, no, just stay still. You're fine. You're fine. Dismissing me again. And in the middle of everything going on, I start projectile vomiting. My hair was out. I was going through like a miscarriage. So
Yeah.
I went to the hospital with my hair just usually how it is, out frizzy, and had throw up all in my hair, all on me. And they just kept telling me to to stay still while I was physically throwing up. And then when they were done, I sat there for 15 to 20 minutes, and it wasn't until um, I don't know what she was. She wasn't white though, but she came and she saw me and she was like, what? Where? I was like, they went to go get something for me. I don't know. But she came and like gave me like towels, and then finally came back down with like a bucket and like soapy water and a washcloth to wipe myself down. And so I was sitting there in my puke for 15 to 20 minutes, going through a miscarriage, not knowing or I didn't know at the time that the baby had already passed, but going through all that in the hospital with being pregnant, you'd think that they would treat you a little bit better, but not at all. It wasn't until someone of color came and helped me and advocated for me. And so,
So that's
I,
like twice that you experienced feeling invisible.
oh yeah, definitely.
See, and that would be classic morbidity. That would
Yep.
be it right there, right there.
Yep.
So, wow. So the MRI unit. So were you in one of those, like they have some that are open MRIs, and then they have one where it's like a tunnel.
It was a tunnel.
A tunnel. Okay. So, oh my gosh. So you're projectile vomiting in a tunnel, and it's just hitting and coming right back on you. And they wouldn't stop it. They would like, it's like, no, just stay still. Right, because that's normal. I want to lay in my vomit. That's what I want.
Yeah. And then to have me sit there in my vomit. And yeah, and I didn't have my partner at the time. He was waiting for me because he couldn't go in there with me clearly.
Wow.
So yeah, I was alone, couldn't advocate for myself until someone from the hospital of color said
So,
something, did something about it.
wow. So that was with, okay, so that was with your miscarriage that you had previous
Yeah.
to this baby.
So this is my fourth pregnancy.
Okay.
That was my third pregnancy.
What were your other pregnancy experiences like? Were they good or?
They were actually really good. The first one, I was a new mom. I was really young. I was 20 when I gave birth to my daughter. And so I just had the knowledge of I'm gonna not get an epidural. I'm gonna try to do this as natural as I can and whatnot. And that was beautiful. I found out how to start visualization. That's where I actually started visualization and my
Ah,
visualization practices was in the middle of labor, um, I remember specifically looking at the window, at the blinds, and started just deep breathing,
Mm-hmm.
contractions. And with every contraction, I just remember like picturing a beach, and then like the ocean waves.
Mm.
If you like just sat there and watched the ocean waves,
Yes.
I imagine that being the contraction. So
Wave.
yeah. And I actually got to the point where they're like, you're falling asleep and you're slowing down the pregnancy or the
Your
labor.
labor.
I keep saying labor, pregnancy,
Yeah,
birth.
that's okay.
But yeah, they're like, you're falling asleep, you gotta wake up. And I'm like, no, I'm actually calm now. Leave me alone.
You know, it's so funny because to hear when you know, one of the key components to natural physiological childbirth is that component of relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds to me that you reached that epitome of relaxation. And in true form and fashion, because typically in the hospital they have you on a time, they almost have like this timer where you must be progressing at this pace by this time. And so for them, you falling asleep was, oh no, you're slowing things down. Like, well, who gets to put a timer on how long this is supposed to take or how
Yeah.
short it's supposed to be? Because you in that relaxation mode was actually allowing your body to open up to give birth. So you, in actuality, you weren't slowing down. It seems to me as though that was a perception that because you were falling asleep, you are slowing things down.
Yeah, and definitely because not only was I going through like regular labor pains, but she was upside down. So I had
Wow.
back labor as
Black
well.
labor.
And that, yeah,
Posterior babies. My first was posterior, so I know, yeah, all of my labor was, I had a lot of back labor.
yeah.
I had a lot of back labor with him. So yeah, those posterior babies.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
I was like, let me do my thing and just
Yeah.
relax and
Right.
into it. And that's a part of my birth work that I do now is it's not just dance, and dance is a part of that, but it's more so helping women to feel more into their bodies and get more acquainted with themselves,
Yeah,
because
because
that's what it gets to.
we've become so disconnected. We have become so separated, and not seeing the body as a whole. We're
Yep.
seeing it as compartmentalized. It's this is separate, that is separate. Not really understanding that until we get back to that place of, you know, trying of reconnecting with ourselves, that we'll start healing and things will come intuitively to us and we'll know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us more about what you do.
So yeah, so I do different types of dance workshops. um, Specifically now it's been geared more towards pregnant women because I'm pregnant now, but before it was womb work and shadow work with women through movement. And so one of the things I actually read the other day, what was I reading? It was one of those Don Miguel Ruiz books. Um, and in the beginning, he mentions the Oracle of Delphi and how at the top it says, know thyself.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought about how that relates to just your body as well, and the different types of power that we can really tap into within ourselves if we know our body and can listen and have a relationship with our body. And alongside that, just knowing that trauma is stored in the body. So the like people only think of their brain as the mind of it all, or
Mm-hmm.
their mind brain of it all, or however you say it.
Not at all.
But our bodies are store memories, store trauma
Yes.
in different ways. And so I want women to be more acquainted, especially with their womb center, because that's where our power is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we make babies and whatnot.
That's the
And
seat of
so,
our creativity. That's where we create.
That's where we create, yeah, and we store so much trauma down there. And just being able to, like, one of the smaller things I go off into is just like how it's a relationship. Every good relationship takes communication.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're not listening to our bodies, how can we have like a good communication with our bodies?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to listen, if we do listen to our bodies, it helps us to forgive and give thanks to our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Mm.
alongside that, just knowing that, going through my different birth experiences, knowing that it's all connected. I'm connected to every woman that's come
Come on
before
now.
me, and they've done it before, but how it's taken a turn with how we give birth and how we go through pregnancy and after giving birth. So I wanted to reach back into these different tools of being able to have a healthy pregnancy, have a healthy, beautiful birthing experience without having to take a bunch of drugs and do all these crazy different things in order to feel better, when in reality feeling it all and getting into your body through movement or through meditation and breathing, because it's not just the movement that counts, it's taking in those deep breaths and where those breaths are going, and or where the energy of that breath is going, and utilizing all of those things to have an amazing birth experience. So one of my homegirls that I absolutely adore and love, she's Jamaican and Liberian.
Um,
And yeah, I heard you say you're Jamaican and West African.
yeah.
And she has some amazing dance classes, and I was taking one of her workshops, and we were like winding down and like,
Hey!
okay, bend down, bend over, no, bend over more. I'm like, why? And she's like, because if you guys think about it, you're only doing these movements during sex or giving birth. I was like, you're right. And so I noticed, like, because I've been doing them all my life and didn't connect I did connect the two, but when she said that, something just like kind of clicked in my
Right.
brain, like, we don't get these simple thoughts given to us
Mm-hmm.
to connect it to what we do in our everyday lives or these type of situations that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another aspect of dance that I'm really into, especially cultural dancing. Feminine cultural dancing helps us tap into our sexuality, sensuality, or whatever you want to call it. And that in itself is a very big power source. Being able to know your sensuality and be comfortable in it, because, like, especially when you're pregnant, you're just like the embodiment of all of that, of sex, of creation, of power, of strength. And
Yeah.
so a
And isn't
lot
it
of time,
crazy how during that time that our so when you're dealing with the divine feminine and all things that are feminine, right? There's the sexuality, the sensuality, the strength, the nurturing, the calm. And we in society, we pick and choose which one of those apply during pregnancy. So the
yeah,
sensuality and the sexuality and birth don't go together. When
which is
which is
crazy.
crazy. Okay.
Yeah,
It is. It's absolutely crazy when you think about the fact that you are pregnant is because of sexuality and
yeah,
sensuality. So when we disconnect from those parts, is it any wonder that we're not really able to experience the heightened sense that birthing is supposed to be? It's
mhm,
all of that. How many times have you heard, like, there's a thin line between pleasure and pain? Like, there's
yeah,
a very thin line. And thus you've heard women who have said that they have had orgasmic births. And I know
yep,
that for a lot of women, they'd be like, okay, that's just weird. Just like, it's my baby. And then we get all muddled up with, you don't want to mix the sexuality with the baby and all of this. But it's really just embodying, like fully embodying everything that it means to be a woman and to be
definitely.
feminine.
Yeah.
You know, there
And
is
it's that
power.
energy.
Yes.
It's the energy. So a lot of times I've started taking notice, not recently, but when I was sexually active, um, the type of breaths, and I was like, this is like also the kind of breathing that I do when I'm meditating, or
Mhm.
when I was giving birth, when I was
Ah,
doing the visualization. It
yes.
was the frequency, the vibration that went through
Yes.
my body that was the same. So when people say orgasmic birth, that's what I related to, is when you're finally deep enough into your body and you're letting just that energy radiate out of you, like
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying. So it's a different type of just like,
Right.
it's like it's a chore. Like it
Right.
does not need to be a chore. Like that's why I like to do the dance movement, and just like, so I have curated playlists that go along with my dance classes to kind of go along with the journey of dance, of like bringing up different emotions and whatnot. And
Mm.
so with the sensual things, it's more to get into your body and into the breath, because when we experience any kind of like sensual things, you notice your breath starts getting deeper and deeper.
Hmm.
So that I like to add that on to dance, because you can do slow body movements, but it does take a little bit more control with your breath and
Hmm.
with the muscles and whatnot. And so being able to do slow, sexy movement also helps you control the breathing and feel into your body a little bit more. And then in turn, all that sensual energy is also feeding your body. So it's just an all around like breathing, power,
Hmm.
and just loving yourself, because the highest frequency is love. And so when we're not feeling sexy, it's just, it's either or you're not feeling good at all. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, especially during pregnancy, we're like, oh, I look like a whale. Oh, I don't
Hmm.
feel good.
I'm
Like we
fat.
already don't feel good. You're fat or whatever. But it's, I don't know. This pregnancy, I've been feeling myself a
Woo,
little bit.
come on, girl.
But that goes along with me taking the time to really feel into my body, because
Next. Hmm.
like I said, the whole relationship with communication,
Hmm.
listening to my body, and what my body is saying is my breasts are growing bigger to feed my baby. My belly's growing because I'm holding, I'm growing a human in there. And so it's like, man, that is sexy as
It
like,
is.
it
And you know
really
what
is.
makes it so sexy is that it's powerful, but it's
Yeah.
powerful from a feminine aspect.
Yep.
It is that I am the embodiment of, you know, nourishment for my baby. Like it's almost like bad bitch vibes.
It really is.
You know, it's almost like, yeah, I've got this. I do this. I do
Yeah.
this. You know, I'm a portal. Beings, spirits come through me and I nurture them and they grow within me and I impart to them. You know, there's just that's sexy. That is
It
sexy.
is.
That is hella sexy.
And when we can feel sexier, especially during pregnancy, I feel like that going into labor that way
Yeah.
makes it a little bit easier, because then we're not on our backs the whole
Well,
time.
the other piece is that sexy usually when we're in that energy, that energy of feeling sexy and sensual, we that's not a position of weakness. There you feel empowered as
Yeah,
a woman.
exactly.
You know, you're moving in that energy. So if you are going into your birthing experience in that same kind of energy, you know, just like that's like next level changing your whole birthing experience.
Yeah, it really translates into the whole experience.
Yeah.
So, like, when preparing for birth, people are like, you gotta work out and da 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 da
Yeah.
da. But it's also like, I tell people all the time, it was a mental game.
It's intuitive. Yes.
Yeah, it was a like mental
Mental
and
gymnastics.
yeah. And so like a lot of the movements that we'll do in the class are a lot of different type of hip motions.
Mhm.
And sometimes with the movement visualizations. So spiraling is a big thing that I love to do, is imagining. So while moving your hips in a circular motion, imagining the energy of the universe. So everything in the universe starts out as a spiral. If you look at the
Mhm.
Milky Way, if you down to a seashell.
That's
So
right.
bringing all that down and moving it all the way down into my womb space,
Yeah.
bringing in more energy, more of that power, it
Yeah.
starts to give me a different type of jolt of energy, you know?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I've got children
Oh, you're good.
outside my window just making the most noise.
I get it. I get it.
I'm like, let me just close this window. Yeah, yeah, that is, I mean, again, and if you think about what we're talking, I feel like I titled this whole video the wrong.
Oh, no, no.
It should have a completely like, and childbirth be sexy and sensual. Like, yeah, I feel like it should have a completely different title. But, you know, and that goes back to, again, the reconnection with nature. Like when we talk about nature, we think Mother Nature. And when you look at, like you said, everything in the universe, it spirals. And so because of our disconnection, like we're missing out on those intuitive pieces. Like just even that piece that you talked about, but even from if you are someone who is like very right brained, is it right or left? Right is no, left is logical, right? Left brain, whatever.
I think left is logical.
More, yeah, whichever is more logical. Even if you go at it from a physics standpoint and you understand universal laws and how the universe works and the Fibonacci sequence, when you understand those, it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense that if nature is doing this and we're a part of nature and nature does this naturally, then even with water and the way that it moves, it doesn't move in straight lines, and it swirls and it flows, and it, you know, it's almost circular in motion. And so laying on your back to give birth to your baby, like
for gravity's sake, like just
it doesn't make sense. It absolutely doesn't make sense. But you know, being on that birthing ball and moving, you know, and spiraling your hips, or just being in that room and walking and just, you know, swaying and doing those things that once we're connected come back to us intuitively. But we've got to reconnect.
Yeah.
Absolutely got to reconnect.
And dance and music together, especially when you have the two, it creates an entire experience just on its own.
Yes.
So then when you add that to pregnancy, like they say, like everything goes back to the drum beat. Like your heart has a beat, everything goes back to the drum beat. And being on those, like those waves, keep going, it helps you move into your body a little bit more to get it on a steady, like, okay, it's coming. This contraction's coming. I can feel it now. Let me move my hips a little bit more. And so that's why I really am an advocate for music and dance being a part of birthing and our way up to it, and getting our bodies ready for that, because it is like running a marathon, but it's a mental marathon, it's an emotional marathon, it's a physical marathon.
And you have to prepare.
Yeah, and you have to prepare.
You have to prepare for that.
And like, I don't know if I think I did mention it to you last time, or no, it might have been after. I saw on one of the birthing or birth groups, this woman she Googled, or was like, how do you deal with pain management during labor? And like, I was like, I wonder what these people are saying. Everyone's like, epidural.
Yeah.
Epidural. When in reality, like, you really can have a enjoyable birthing experience. And what I always tell people is, whether I'm working with them with shadow work or anything else, is that you have to feel it to heal it. And so feeling everything that your body is going through and then cutting it off
Yeah.
is you're going to cut something off off
Mental.
of here where
Yeah.
it's going to take longer to heal from that, because like I said, your body stores trauma, your body stores all, has those memories. And so when you're cutting your logical brain off from what your body
The
brain is
body. Yeah.
going through, then how do you heal quicker with things that come up later? You're like, where is this coming from? Not realizing that your body's like taking you back to giving birth, and then you're like trying to figure things out later on if something were to bring up, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
during sex is one
Mhm.
huge thing
Yeah.
for women, is having sex, and then after birth, and like, I don't know where that connection came from, but I finally connected back to childbirth and something that happened. And
Mhm.
so people don't realize it's all
It's all
connected, and your
connected.
body takes in all,
It
takes,
is.
but
And God forbid that a woman
you
has
do it.
experienced sexual trauma, because when you
Oh
experience
yeah.
any form of sexual trauma, that trauma, your body becomes the trigger. So
Yep.
something as simple as going to a prenatal visit can be traumatic, and it can be something that you dread, and it can be something that, your body tenses up and you don't want to go, and as a result some women just won't go, and then they won't get that um, they won't get that care that that the provider can give, even if it's just being able to um, do the measurements and so on and so forth, and being able to spot anything early versus later. Women will avoid going to their prenatal visits because of their trauma, because of their sexual trauma,
Yeah.
and they just and it's too much for them to deal with. So all of that goes into the preparation, and I love that you do healing through the music and the dance, and yeah, because it's so important. It's so important to get your healing when you know that you have places in you that need healing
Yeah.
before it's time for you to give birth, because that thing will manifest in the middle of your birthing experience.
Oh yeah, it definitely will. Like, um I don't think, especially as women of color,
Mhm.
like, where did that thought just go? It literally was like, whoop. I guess I guess I
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to say that at that time, but it literally left my brain.
Okay, we'll blame it on pregnancy brain.
Man, it's been a thing. But
Well,
being able,
and
okay,
probably where I'm feeling you were going is that as women of color, we almost innately suppress everything. Like everything is so secretive. Even back to the counseling.
yep,
Part of the Black culture is we don't do counseling because you don't tell people your business. What happens at home is private and it stays
it
at
stays
home.
there.
And
Yeah.
so when you've experienced trauma, a lot of the times sexually, whether it be your abuser or family members that find out, everybody's trying to hush you and make you not talk about this thing, and you don't talk about it. And so you store that in your body.
Yep.
You store it in your body. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that's kind of where I was going along with that. I believe there was something else along
Okay.
with it, but yeah, just understanding that feeling things is a way to release. And so that's the whole thing with movement. Now I realize when there's something that really upsets me, I'll just like do a whole shake and like to let it out, because if it
Yeah.
just stays in there and stays stagnant,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're just holding on to it, and then it never gets out,
Right.
there's no real way to deal with that. You can have all the like notes and whatnot, and seeing all these different doctors that are trying to help you, but if you're not really connecting that to what has happened to you and you don't want to feel it,
Mm-hmm.
then how are you supposed to truly get through it,
It's true. I mean,
or
it's true.
truly let things go, or not letting things go, but just releasing them
Working through it.
from you?
Right.
Yeah.
And the irony in that is that even with the epidural, right, there comes a point where it's time for the woman to push. And her thing is, I cannot push because I cannot feel it. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot feel to push. And so they end up having to back off the epidural so that she can feel that. Like we've got, as a culture, we've got this whole thing with pain and a perverted, we have a perverted sense of what pain does and why it is. You know, if we lived in a society where we never felt pain, we wouldn't know that something was wrong.
Yeah.
So even with, like, you know, the babies who have like they may have an ear infection and they cry, and because they are in pain, they're able to communicate to you as a mother, I am in pain, something is wrong. And
Yeah.
it's not always that something is wrong, but it could just be that you need to feel this, like you said, to heal it. In order for you to even know that there is something there that needs healing, you need to be able to feel it. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of women don't understand that. Sometimes, you know, we just get overly emotional and you don't know why. And it's because you're trapping all of this trauma, you're not dealing with it, and your body can only hold so much. And so then, you know, you have those moments where you're just emotional out of the blue for no good reason. And now you're sobbing because we're not doing the work.
Yep. So
We're not
the
doing.
beginning of this pregnancy, so this is my first pregnancy being completely single. So when I went through the breakup with the dad, I noticed, and I even asked my midwife about it, but I don't even know why I asked her because she was just like, I don't know. And I finally figured out. But every time I ate, I like as soon as the food would get like swallowed, I'd immediately have a reaction to like cry, to sob, but I wouldn't. And I was like, why is this happening? And it was just, and at that time I was like, I don't like him. I'm fine. I'll get over him. He doesn't want to have anything to do with the baby. Whatever. And I had this just like stank attitude about it, like, but every time I ate, my body was like trying to get rid of the grief that I was feeling. And it wasn't the grief of losing him, it was the grief I was feeling for my child not going to have a father, and like all these different things that later I unpacked. But at the moment, it was literally every meal. Like I didn't want to, I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to eat,
Eat.
because
Wow. See?
when I eat, as soon
That's
as
what
I start eating,
happened.
I'm like, and like with, to the point of sometimes shaking, where it was just like so much, and like I'm getting emotional about it now, where it would want to, you know how you get that like knot in your throat, it would get like that, my stomach would just like, and so it wasn't until I really started getting back into my practice of like, okay, I'm going to put on like the saddest songs, saddest love songs, or saddest songs about someone leaving, and I'm going to just like
Work through it.
flow, let my body flow. And it wasn't until I did that that I could start eating again. And it was like immediately after, once I literally was like, Mom, Dad, can y'all take the kids? I need a day or two or three. And I just let myself cry it all out and danced it out of my body. And I especially, so with my practices, movement practices, forgiving our bodies and parts of our bodies is a really big thing with me. So like in the morning when I wake up, I'll let my feet touch the floor and then just like start massaging all the way up, like, oh, thank you, arms, thank you, chest, thank you, breasts, thank you, stomach, and just like thank them for the things that they do. And so once I was able to like let all of that emotion come out of me and thank my body for telling me,
Good. Mm-hmm.
like, okay, now I get why I was feeling like that. So, and that was just me. And after years of like listening to my body like immediately responded, like, no, get through that. Like, you got to release that. But so many of us are holding it in all the time and then don't recognize those cues, which end up turning into something else. Because had I not been the person that I am, that could have possibly turned into some kind of eating disorder for me.
Disorder. Yes,
You
it could.
know? So this is why listening to our bodies and using movement, using dance to be able to move through our daily lives is a huge part of me. And then trying to just get to other women, especially women of color. We have to advocate for ourselves in a place that does not listen to us. So I want to teach them tools to bring in with them
Mhm.
to help deal with all that, or deal with labor and going through pregnancy and whatnot, because we have the resources, but there's a disconnect.
Yeah, we don't always we're not always able to put, it's like, oh man, it's right on the tip of my tongue, but I can't place it. It's that sort of disconnection of, it's in there, it's everything you need is already inside of you, but sometimes it's tucked away, and it's for us to remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's that reconnection so that you, oh yeah, okay. Or things that just come to you and you're just like, how did I know to do that? Like, how did I know
Yeah.
that that was what was needed?
Yeah.
Because you've reconnected, you remember what
Yeah.
that. Were you able to figure out why eating was the trigger, or was it just something that your body used?
I think it was just something that my body used.
Okay, so it wasn't
Um,
like you guys used to go out and eat, or you cook together, or like
no, it was
meal
literally
packets.
like as soon as something else was introduced into
Okay,
my body responded like with grief,
wow.
which was like, it was really, really weird at the time. Like I said, I asked my midwife and she was like, huh, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so then that took
No, because that's
a
not
lot
in
of
a
unpacking.
textbook. That's not
Oh
in a
no,
textbook, so she's not gonna know what that is.
no, it's not in a textbook at all.
It's not.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And nurse midwives are a lot different than the home
And
birthing
home,
midwives, let me
yes.
say.
Yeah. Not all
It's
midwives are not all equal. There are different types of.
very much
Sometimes
so.
having a nurse midwife is just like having a medical doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Oh
is
yeah.
so much. Yeah. I've
Definitely.
experienced that. I have experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So that's why I do what I do, and especially just dancing and moving. I love to do it, and I love to see people really connecting with themselves,
yeah.
because that's ultimately what it is reconnecting yourself
Yeah.
with yourself,
Yes,
meeting yourself again
it is. It
in a
really
different way.
It really is. I think what's happened is that, we've gotten, we're in this 3D dimension, and we've gotten to this place of thinking that the physical part of ourselves is who we are. And I heard it said really well by a gentleman from Mind Valley the other day. And he said, we have this notion that our spirit resides inside of our bodies, when in actuality, it's the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies reside in our spirit, because we are spirit first.
Yeah.
And again, that's part of that reconnection, because when you understand that you're spirit first, and some that intuition is very spirit driven. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you understand you are spirit first, when you hear that voice or you get that inclination, you'll trust it, because you know that that is truly the essence of who you are, and you'll trust that before you trust the physical,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so
And
yeah.
then that's how how I connect with my ethereal body, is through my physical, connecting with my physical body, and not letting,
Other way around.
yeah, letting it
Yeah.
be the other way around.
Because
So
otherwise we allow the physical to lead, and then that's where people do the whole, well, no, it's that disconnection of, I felt like I shouldn't do that. Like I had a mother on one week. She said, she had a C-section 9 years ago, and the doctor said that she couldn't have a VBAC, but she felt she could have a VBAC. And everything in her told her that having a C-section was not the way to go. And she
mhm.
went ahead and did the C-section, and they botched her C-section.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And part of the reason why her C-section was botched was because the doctor who was supposed to perform the C-section, which was her doctor, who gave her her first C-section was not available that day. And so it was another doctor in the practice that she had no relationship with, she knew nothing about. So those are those intuitive pieces, like where it's almost like your intuition or your ethereal body, like you said, is able to see so much further than you can actually see in the physical. And you're getting that message of, okay, where that's going, that's not the way. That is not the way. That is not it.
And I know people are weird about this, but I feel like for anyone who this will resonate with, it was profound for me to think about, was that while I have all my ancestors, I'm now carrying a whole new set of ancestors with me that are, so like my intuition has been on point, because they're not just the ones that are like my team. I got a whole different other team that's here for this little guy as well. And so just certain things throughout my day I've noticed are just like going so smoothly, and their body triggers. They're like little things with my body where I'll get like, ooh, or just listening to my body has put me on a different path in life to something way more flowy and just going with everything. And I'm able to listen to it now. And I feel like it's way more heightened now with carrying a whole new person, soul, energy, ancestor tribe with me.
Listen, and you just brought something back that I wanted to mention earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you, and it just came back when you said that. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to myself for being patient and holding it. But you were talking about, we were talking about the trauma piece. And again, it's like, so every egg, and I think a lot of people, like not everybody's into science. I'm like a science head. I really am like a science buff. So every female, when she's born, she is carrying all of the eggs that she will ever need or have in her lifetime. So think about that. Think about that from the sense of, I was in, or you were in your mother, and you had all of your eggs. So these are like all of my children, although they weren't fertilized, as it were, because of course the sperm hadn't hit, but everything carries energy. Everything is energy. So each one of those eggs in my ovaries carry a certain resonance and energy. And I, as a fetus, had all of my eggs when that part of my body developed. And so that was also part of my mother's experience. So whatever trauma or feelings, whether good, bad, indifferent, didn't just affect me, the fetus inside of my mother, but it affected every egg in my body.
Yeah.
And think about, now go back. So my mother inside of her mother.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like this whole, there's like the connection, it just keeps, you know, so sometimes our trauma that we're carrying is not even our own. It's not even our own.
Yeah.
It's ancestral. And so you have to do the work, because a lot of people will say, well, I wasn't sexually abused, or I haven't had any major traumas that I can think of, but yet I react to this thing this way, and I don't really know why. But
it might not be yours.
Exactly. It may not be yours. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, even just, and not even to mention, you know, our history as Black people and slavery and all that comes with that. We are carrying that in our DNA. That is a part of our experience. That is, you know, we see it with lab rats when they do experiments on them, and 3, 4, 5, 6 generations down the line, and these mice are they're reacting to a stimuli that they knew nothing about. How is that? And why would we think that as human beings that the same thing doesn't happen to us?
Because it's out of our reach, and
it's just not in the physical, and because it's not physical, right? So,
but it really is physical though, because your body, like I said, your body's holding that trauma. So if your mom's holding trauma, while holding you, while holding your eggs, and then that keeps moving on
Keep
down.
going. It just keeps
It
going.
just will keep going, which is why I'm like, the body needs to release. You
Yep.
have to release in some way. And so a lot of times, even just sexual addiction will manifest from someone trying to work through some kind of womb trauma that they went through.
Listen,
So
I've been there. I experienced, I was abused when I was a child.
mhm.
And to work through when it came back to me, because my body, as wonderful as it is, did its best to protect me by making that thing go way into the deep recesses of my mind so that I wouldn't remember. And it surfaced for me when I was in college. And so what I did is, my way of trying to take my power back when I realized what had happened to me was, I felt like something had been taken from me without my permission. And so my reaction to that was to go and reclaim my power by putting myself in sexual positions,
Yes.
but controlling the situation, controlling the environment, controlling how this worked out, how it happened, when it happened, and so on and so forth. Not realizing, though, that in that I was actually creating more trauma for myself.
Yeah.
But that speaks to exactly.
I did the exact same thing. I was abused in high school, and then it showed back up in college as well. And that's when I was like, no, I'm gonna, and so
Right.
we deal with it in a way that we think is right, when instead really getting into our body and like trying to understand that
Yep. And
you
sitting
deal with it a different way.
Yep.
And then you find out from continuing the trauma that, oh wait, nope, I shouldn't do this.
Right.
And then it's like unraveling.
It is.
So
and more running away and not sitting with it and dealing with it and healing, like you said, healing through the pain. Sometimes, like, I know for me it was like running away from crying. Like, I absolutely hated crying because I felt so weak, but not really understanding that my tears were healing because they were releasing energy. It was allowing some of this energy that had been stored in my body for years to move its way out in the form of tears. And being okay. It's just like when you're done crying, typically you feel like, like a whole weight is come off you,
Mm-hmm.
And I know in pregnancy, we tend to be more emotional and more like, we're more in touch with that emotional side of ourselves. And we said, we put it down, oh, it's the hormones. But
I feel like it's also your body like, release it.
Yeah, because I'm carrying a whole lot right now. I need
you to get some of this out of here.
I need to make some room.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
Well, listen, I have absolutely just had an amazingly wonderful time with you today. And I knew I would. I knew I would. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait.
I was so excited. I'm so glad we did this. Thank you so much for the work that you do. And just spreading the word and bringing women on and to talk about it more, just to empower them, because we really aren't being empowered as much as we can be, and not taken care of and not heard. And just to have other sisters out there hearing us and letting us know that we're not alone, it's honestly so beautiful and so welcomed.
Thank you. So listen, like, because we didn't get to, and I'm sorry, we didn't get to really talk much about, like, if somebody wanted to work with you, what that looks like, how they get in touch with you. And I know, are you still like working, like, are you
at this moment,
COVID, working virtually, or?
Everything I would do now is virtually. Yep. And so anyone can email me or DM me. That's usually the easiest way to get in touch with me. I have a couple of things that I'm working on so that it's taking off from the virtual sessions. And so it's a little bit more homework, which in turn actually helps out a lot more. So, it's all online, virtual. And
So how would they get in touch with you?
You can message me through Instagram or through Facebook. My Facebook is just my first and last name. Same with Instagram, at Yoshimi Shelton. And just shoot me a message if you even just want to talk, if you're pregnant and having some questions, or if you want to do a couple sessions where you can prepare your body for birthing through movement. I'm here. And
give me one second.
Yep.
Dave, you left my door open.
The life of a mom.
Voice was just filtering.
You're good.
Oh, no, I'm still on it. Can you please shut the door? Thanks.
What's happened to the bees?
Can you shut the door? Thanks. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
I don't understand. Like, that's my 14-year-old. I just don't understand. Can you please close the door? Thank you so much. All right. Okay, now please go back and let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Yep, through Instagram or Facebook at Yoshimi Shelton. Either through there, I'm still working on my website, but I'll be having some videos going through just like 10-minute stuff, 10-minute movement things with meditation, sound meditation, that my brother's a producer, so
hey,
I'm going to be using his stuff, so no copyright issues. But
yes.
Yeah, so yeah, email me, message me, anything related to movement, somatic experiencing, stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Shadow work, womb healing.
Shadow work. I'm coming out with a really awesome workbook planner.
Nice.
So that'll be coming out soon on my website for shadow work specifically.
Look at you, creating while you're creating.
Creating while I'm creating.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Yoshimi, for gracing us with your presence today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Your wisdom and, all things birthing. And we wish you the best, a very safe birthing experience, safe and beautiful birthing experience. And we're going to stay connected. We're going to do some more things together. So,
definitely.
Yeah. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you.
Take care.
All right. Okay. Feel like I'm on a high. Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do, and getting to connect with women and hear about their experiences and their journeys. And I'm just so honored. I'm so honored to be allowed to be a part of those journeys that, I didn't necessarily get to be part of the journeys that was happening, but the pleasure of being able to catch it energetically on the backside is such a beautiful thing. So thank you all for tuning in. Those of you who were able to tune in with us, I swear there have been a lot of interruptions today. I do apologize, but I am a mother, and, it's just kind of part of the territory. And I have people who need me and want to get in touch with me, and my phone has been going berserk today. So it is what it is. And we keep it moving. So please join us every week, every Wednesday, at the Birthing Code on, you can actually catch it on YouTube or on Facebook. The Rebel Queen Spotlight every week, every Wednesday at 3:00. I am thinking about changing the time to later in the evening, but I'll be sure to let you know if I decide to do that. I have some amazing special guests coming up within the next couple of weeks that, again, I'm just excited about what that means, and just the level up, the level up, and just really getting into the education and the information that is just so, so needed. Let me see, what else do I want to share? I have some classes coming up, 2 classes, as a matter of fact. I have, for those of our queens who, for whatever reason, you've either decided to give birth in a hospital, or you're high risk and you have to give birth in a hospital. I have a course coming up, Rebel Queens Locked and Loaded. And this course is preparing you for, as a woman of color, for going into that institution and being able to navigate that system and understand things that are said, things that are not said, understanding how to advocate for yourself, preparing your team to advocate for you, especially during this time with COVID and hospital policies and the bureaucracy and all the red tape that they're going to make you try and jump through, and not even really try and jump through, more so just make you comply to their wishes. So Rebel Queens Locked and Loaded is a course that's going to position you to be able to navigate that and get in and get out safely, and still manifest the type of birthing experience that you want to experience, because you still can. You still can. It may be a little bit more work for you to put in versus if you were birthing at home or in a birthing center, but it is absolutely possible. Why? Because you're a manifestor and a creator, and you can have whatever it is that you desire. So that's the Rebel Queens Locked and Loaded. And then I will be doing another session of Rebel Queens Rise and Heal. And, you know, we were talking about healing today. And so this particular course is going to help you heal those places, heal those the traumas, so that you can manifest the type of birthing experience that you want. And not just your traumas, but past traumas that may not even be yours. It's going to help you to work through all of that, help you to surface, to dig up that ground, so that you can find out what is buried deep, so that you can show up as the best version of yourself, not just on the day that you birth your baby, but from during pregnancy and the day you birth your baby and for the rest of your life, because showing up is what we need to do as women in that feminine energy. We need to show up. We need to be able to show up because our community needs us. So if you have an interest and you want to learn more about either one of those courses, go ahead and DM me. You can DM me over on Facebook. You can DM me on Instagram. Oh, and there is another course, but this one is not a course. I am doing one-on-one coaching with women who are struggling with fertility. So this is specifically for women who do not have a medical reason for why they are not conceiving. They've done the testing, or they've had a child previously, and they just have not been able to get pregnant again for whatever reason. And their partner has gone through testing, and we know for sure it's not your partner, why you're not able to conceive. I'll be doing one-on-one coaching with women to help them get past their blocks and their limiting beliefs so that they can conceive. So I've got lots of new and wonderful things happening this year. I'm really excited. I'm really honored to be chosen for this work. And I am just, I'm just honored to be chosen for this work. So thanks again for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you again next week. This is your host, Nikki Inman with Rebel Queen Spotlight. Have a great evening.